People might want to be and bees in the air and stuff.
All right, so basically, you know, if you're like me, you don't really have enough time to keep bees, and this is a good way to salvage an operation when the hive has become swarmy. Oh, there's my hive tool. If you're like me, you also lose your hive tool a lot.
He will, yeah.
Just a wooden wrap.
So the Taranov board in itself is really nothing but a wooden ramp. When I first started doing this, I just set up like a regular wooden ramp and propped it up on a couple of things, and then the swarm would form back here. And then I would very stupidly carry the wooden ramp to a box until one day I thought I could just put the box under the ramp to start with. So the technique has sort of evolved a little bit over time, let's say. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take the hive apart. Where'd that smoker go? There it is.
Adam.
What's that?
Also, I think a lot of people arrived after you said something about all the bees in the air and...
Oh yeah, right.
So you might just want to give a heads up.
Before this demonstration is over, all of the bees in the hive will be in the air.
Okay. Just so you know what you're getting into.
So,
Didn't bring my milk.
what we're going to do is we're going to take the hive apart and we're going to sort of move it so that it's upside down. And
My excuse is the camera.
so if it's worth anything, I smoked this just a little while ago. Smoke is most effective about 10 minutes after it's been applied. Whoa. Oh. I got a hive staple in there. I thought I got all of them. All right. So,
Adam, do you want to say something about where you learned about this and what it is?
no.
Okay.
So,
Oh well.
Nice try.
all the flying bees are going to reorient to the original hive location, right? So basically, the longer you do this, the easier it is. Like, if I'm doing this at my house, I might just do this and then go in the house and then let the bees all the flying bees will leave this hive and then they'll fly back into here, so I have to deal with fewer bees. Do people understand that? So the foragers in the hive, they want to go back to the original location. So they're just going to fly through the air and then go back into the original hive.
You know where your queen is?
No, and I'm never going to.
Okay.
If I do, it's purely by luck. I'll look. Okay. Well, look at all the drones there. It's almost all drones.
Outside.
Yeah.
This would be a good candidate for this, huh?
Yeah. Right. If they're making this many drones, then so this is basically the technique. Right there, you snap the bees off. Bees go into the air.
Are the drones going to return
The only bees that are in the air are the field bees. The bees on the sheet are the nurse bees.
The bees on the sheet are going to be nurse bees because nurse bees don't really fly, and the bees that go into the air. What we're looking to do here is we're looking to separate the queen and the nurse bees are going to stay on the sheet and they're going to form a swarm. And the flying bees are going to return to the brood in the original hive. So you guys got that?
Yeah.
All right.
So this is all drones? I don't understand. The ones you're shaking off?
The ones that were on that particular frame were drones.
Okay.
All right. So we have a little bit of cap brood over here. And then kind of in the middle, they're starting to fill in pollen. So this is sort of the edge of the brood nest. And then you need to get a good snap.
The box that's underneath, the brood box that's underneath, is that empty or does it have frames?
Holding up to a couple of heights.
Are there frames in that box under the sheet?
There's I put a couple of frames in there just to give the field bees something to land on, but I'm going to take those out.
And would you, Adam, maybe you'd say that this is like totally not.
What your sheet contraption is made of and why it's that shape?
Oh, I don't know. For some reason, the bees like to climb uphill. The nurse bees, they like to climb uphill, and they don't like to be in the sun. So they climb up the top of the thing, and then they go around the back of it to get out of the sun, and you'll find the queen in the middle of that ball. So this is getting to be like real brood nest here.
So you say, so this is not like a normal, typical, most beekeepers do this kind of thing. It's like a totally esoteric, special, weird thing. Yeah, it works though.
Adam, have you done this often enough to confirm that
I missed the beginning as to what the purpose of this is.
Yeah, it works every single time.
If you have a hive that is, it's like a different method of sweating. So it's sort of.
No, I've probably done it 25, 30 times.
Oh, of dividing the hive, so to speak?
You get to go in the empty
method
house.
of dividing.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
interesting.
Is there always a bud in there too? Or? I understand that.
Yeah, they're old, musty queen cells. Yeah, they were never filled out.
So
What's that?
I was just gonna say that the basic idea is to sort of force the bees into the behavior that they would exhibit themselves if you allowed them to swarm. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly
So you're sort of
correct.
forcing a swarm when you want it to happen, as opposed to letting them do it when they want to do it. So you're there to put. So the benefit is that in the end they end up where you want them instead of like in the top of a 40-foot tree somewhere.
Right. In the beginning of this, I should have said, by magic, I will cause bees to swarm into the object that I wish them to swarm into.
I have one question, kind of a problem with this, if I may.
Yeah.
I understand the separation of the nurse bees and the field bees are going to go back to the brood.
Yeah.
Those are not the bees you really want for brood maintenance. You really want the nurse bees. So you're ending up, and I don't mean to be critical about this, but that's why my confusion. You're ending up with a box full of brood with a box full of field bees, which are not the optimal bees for brood maintenance. So,
shaking it out.
well, yeah, you got Captain there. You got Captain there, but you also got
Oh, so you're
larvae.
making them swarm to the location
So
that you want.
those are gone,
Yeah.
right? So I'm a little saying, yeah, this is pretty cool, but I don't know how optimal this is.
So in a real swarm,
Yeah, but there are other ways of swarm control.
Yeah, but at this
The,
However, if your bees are swarming, if your bees are truly swarming, typically what ends up happening is that your queen ceases laying 2 days before. So there might be some open brood, but suppose they swarm. It's the young bees and the old queen that depart the hive first.
It's the young bees, I think.
Yeah, that go with the queen. So you'd be left with something pretty similar.
Okay, thank you. I mean, so it's not the field bees that will go with the queen, but maybe
no, field bees don't go with the queen
on the swarm.
because the field bees won't live long enough
Yeah, fair enough.
to make the brood,
Right. Good point.
And then the field bees stay in the original hive long enough to hatch the new brood out.
Okay.
So you're winding up with the exact situation that you'd wind up with in a swarm. Right?
You kept your bees, right.
I mean, you know, because what you're going to see at the end of this is a swarm.
Right.
Like, there's no question at all that what you'll see at the end here is a swarm, because that's what it is. It has all of the characteristics. And you know how swarms build comb crazy fast? They build comb crazy fast. Like, you can almost do this just to make new comb. Like, it'll work like that.
Adam, would you presume at this point the queen is on the sheet, or no?
Yeah, but probably, and in truth, I don't really care. Because, you know, the whole thing about finding the queen is, so there's all of these things that begin with find the queen, right? So we go into a bee yard, and if it could take 20, 30 minutes or something like that to find the queen. And I don't have the time to do it. One of the really nice things about this method is that I'll often do this shaking part and then go and like have some lemonade and talk on the cell phone.
Was that adult lemonade or regular?
It depends on what time of day it is, you know. But
Typically, what time of day do you do this at?
you know, there's one thing about today's operation that's not ideal, and what you'd normally do is point the surface of this at the sun, because the bees don't like the bright light. And I would say that the queen is probably on here now.
Would you do it like middle of the day?
Yeah, I mean, what you really want is it like to be sort of nice weather, bright sunlight on the surface.
What are you using for a ramp?
It's just like a piece of plywood. There's nothing really special.
It's a homemade
So
thing.
what time do swarms usually happen at?
3:30.
What time?
11 to 2.
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
Right. So just do it when swarms normally happen. So my theory is that basically if you take a strong hive, there's a little bit of swarm instinct in there, and all of a sudden the bees find themselves in the sort of configuration that they would be in during a swarm, right? All of a sudden it's like they're a strong hive. What are bees trying to do? Are they trying to make wax? Are they trying to make honey?
Trying to multiply.
They're trying to multiply, right? That's all bees want to do. So the same thing that's always on your mind is the same thing that's always on their mind.
Did you talk to my girlfriend again?
So the truth is that, you know, bees just always want to swarm. They're not there to make you honey. They're not there to amuse your friends. They're not there to make your backyard seem more posh, right? They're there to swarm. So if you put them in a situation that's very much like a swarm, they're going to think about swarming. So all of a sudden, fairly strong hive. They find themselves all outside, there's a lot of commotion, and you know what? They think that they've swarmed.
Adam, can you turn this way before you...
Yeah, hang on.
Don't do a documentary.
Life magazine's asking.
Channel 7 News.
I mean, I want you to shake it so you're oriented towards me, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't you have to check for queen cells first?
I don't know, how hard does this seem?
Not very.
Not very hard, right?
It's a little crazy, but
So were you in Russia when you found this out?
No, you know, I started doing this probably like about 4 years ago or something. And at that time, the only thing around was like really crude line drawings on the internet. I think maybe Dave Cushman
Yeah, Dave.
had some kind of crude line drawings and stuff, and I thought, oh, that looks pretty good, you know. But it didn't really. I don't know. There wasn't really anything about how to do it, and I just started goofing around with it in the yard. And my first ramp was just like, I don't know, like a piece of 2x12 or something like that.
Thank you.
And there really wasn't anything special about it, and you know, it worked right away. So I just kept doing it, and now it's like when you get into the bee yard, and what the heck is going on here? Oh, that's
So when you say you don't care about where the queen is, what in the original hive, where is the queen?
Where's the queen? She was probably down in the brood nest someplace.
But she's now over here.
She's now on that board somewhere.
Okay. Then after this is finished, where does like the original hive and what happens with its queen? Does it need a queen or does it make a queen?
The original hive, in this case, will need a queen because there was not swarm cells in it.
Yeah.
I tend to do this when I'm doing a hive inspection, and the ideal situation that you want is queen cells and eggs. Because if there's queen cells and eggs, then they're gonna swarm, but the queen's still there.
All right, the frame with queen cells, would you shake it or brush that one?
I'd shake it.
Still with queen cells in it?
Yeah, I've never had a problem. You know, I just have never had a problem. So
You could have a new queen, right? So mated queen for that one, and just cutting off all the.
yeah, I mean, if you basically, the thing is in this hive, so what you would do is you'd wait about 24 hours or the next morning or something like that, and let them realize that they're queenless, and then you put the new queen in there, and you've done a split. So,
Can't you just do one that already has queen cells in it?
what's that?
Go away. Don't get
It takes
upset.
longer.
Already
Just
has
hold
queen
still.
cells in it.
Yeah, I mean,
Pretend it's not there.
If you had another queen and you were going to put it in the original,
It won't. It's just
have enough
theory.
nurse bees that flocked in there or a few to...
the field bees, when they get into a situation, the bees will always protect the brood.
Okay.
So the field bees that are returning right now,
Unless
they're
it's
becoming nurse bees.
Okay.
They are in the process of it right now. So I'm a little bit ridiculous about this. I just shake every single one. Like, you know what? I'm not, the whole process of decision making, like, you know, could the queen possibly be here? I'm not even interested. Just shake them all. Because that way, you know you've got it. Right about now, I'm figuring out what I'm going to be doing in the house. Yeah, right. Or, you know,
So how much
yeah, I'm
time?
going to go upstairs and fold clothes.
For how long?
I don't know, for a while. You go back and look out the window and see how things are going.
And so you're waiting for them to get into a big ball.
Yeah, so it takes about like kind of half an hour, 20 minutes, something like that. You can kind of help them along. But,
You kind of roll the
so
sheet
now,
up.
Now, when you do this, should you have frames in that box or not?
should you have frames in that box?
Frames in that box that they're going to.
Yeah, you're swarming them into that. That's their new home.
Okay, so the frame should be in it.
Yeah, the frame should be in there.
Should the opening be in the shade, not in the sun?
Yeah, the opening probably should be in the shade. So here, let's kind of, I'm going to shade that. So he's right. The sun is sort of.
Not ideal.
Getting a new queen, can you just do one that already has queen cells in it?
The flat part that you shake the bees onto.
What kind of frame? Should it be empty built out frames, new frames?
I mean, basically anything that you do with beekeeping, you just want drawn comb. Drawn comb is totally like the resource that you want. So one of the good things about this is because it behaves exactly like a swarm, they'll just draw comb like crazy. So you can you see that there's sort of like a general movement towards the top now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You know, you can.
That cover you put for shade, what is that resting on right now?
What's what resting on?
The cover.
The cover you put for shade?
Oh, it's not just. I put it on the. Just it's on the. There's a hive body back there.
Oh, okay.
Adam, what's in that bottle?
Water.
So what is your typical delay time?
I don't know, about half an hour. Something like that.
And when do you clump as a satisfactory quote-unquote swarm?
If I'm in a rush, honestly, I would just take that thing and shake it up to kind of force them up to the top of the thing. I mean, I really wish that I was more professional, but I'm really not. So
That's okay.
That's good.
I mean, if you want to sort of like, you can see that they're forming they're forming a swarm over here now.
They're starting.
I mean, there's no other word
cluster.
for it. You see that they formed that kind of clump there.
And that's where the queen is, obviously, definitely.
Yeah, they're all working on it.
So
here, why don't we just sort of go one at a time and then, all right. You see that? Yeah. See they're forming a swarm there? That is a swarm, right? Am I correct that that's a swarm? Yeah.
Adam,
Right?
why would you want to make it a swarm versus have them marked right into a box? Good catch.
I've thought a lot about that. You could do a shook swarm just into another hive, but I think that there's something about them organizing into this swarm on their own terms, right? So it's like just like a swarm, they're out of the hive, right? Just like a swarm, they're making a collective decision to walk up the ramp, right? Just like a swarm, they hang together in that bunch. And just like a swarm, they're going to enter this box and they're going to set up housekeeping. Really, without me intervening at all. So it's tremendously important that they fulfill all of those original steps on their terms. So you can, if you divide something and you put the things into another box and the bees are all still on their thing and stuff like that, none of these terms are satisfied. So this allows the bees to do exactly what the bees want to do, but when you want the bees to do it. There's nothing else that's exactly like a swarm except for this. This is the only thing.
So if you picked up the sheet now and kind of shook
So you just shake them.
You just shake them onto the sheet, they walk up, they go into the shade, they form a swarm. That's it. It's really not. I wish it was more complicated. Because,
well, what's the final thing that you do that we're working towards?
what you're going to do is, when this clump really forms good, you're just going to bang it and they're going to fall into that box.
Okay. Fall in the box. Yeah.
And then that's it.
if you would pick up on
I do that if I've got to go someplace or something.
So you've got the strong
It would still work, but I feel like it's suboptimal.
the new box.
Right? I feel like if you just, because normally if you've seen a swarm go up into a tree or something, there's a period where it sort of hangs there and there's these kind of flying around and they don't exactly know what they're doing, and maybe they kind of condense on a couple of days and places, and then they all sort of glom together. What you really want is for them to do exactly, they are exactly going to go through all of the conditions that they went to that they're programmed to do. So you're fulfilling all of their natural needs.
I guess the only difference wouldn't be, is it different that they don't like gorge on honey first?
Yeah, I mean there is that. But if you smoke them, then they do kind of gorge on honey.
Right.
Right?
And you're doing this just because you got a big population, you don't even have any cells, no swarm cells,
You could do it either way. I mean, one of the things is that, so the real trick in beekeeping, right, is having a hive with between 40 and 50,000 bees in it, right? If you have 10,000 bees in your hive, that's about enough to keep the hive going, right? If you have 20,000 bees in your hive, you probably get about 5,000 bees worth of surplus honey. If you have 30,000 bees in your hive, you get about 15,000 bees worth of surplus honey. If you have 40,000 bees in your hive, you get it doubles, you get 25,000 bees worth of surplus honey. So I understand how the accelerator works in beekeeping, right? I can feed sugar water 1-to-1 syrup, and I can give them pollen, right? Trust me, you want me to make a lot of bees in the spring? I can make a lot of bees in the spring. The problem then becomes, what do you do to slow them down? So there's all kinds of stuff about, like, you know, you're going to take brood out and you're going to checkerboard and you're going to do all this stuff. But the bottom line is that I just work too much to do that. So what I do is I go and I look at the front of the beehive, and if I can count the number of bees coming and going easily, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, no problem. The numbers, if it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the numbers start to run together, that's a problem. If I cannot count the number of takeoffs and landings, it's going to swarm, right? So that's all I do. I don't open up the hives. I don't really do anything. I go by and I count. And when I see, when those numbers start to run together, then I say, we've got a problem.
Did you do this method with a first-year hive?
I did do it with a first-year hive last year. And it was because the demo hive that they gave me was a first-year hive, and it worked. It'll work on anything. It really will. So the thing is that, you know, you get the hive and you just get it big. You like blow it up. And then you take this and you split it. Did anybody go to the Snellgrove board thing? Yeah. So that normally when I do this at home, I split and then I Snellgrove. So it goes on the top, and then I kind of run a 2-queen colony for a little while.
That works.
Right? And then you pull that thing off, and then it becomes a second hive. So, you know, I think that they should be really looking pretty good at this point.
So basically, once.
So, do people basically understand the methodology here? Yep. It's like all of a sudden, like, you just feed like crazy. Get them going, you know, start them early, rock and roll, right? And then you start to get, when you see drones, you know, because all the hive wants to do is reproduce, right? So the cheap way to reproduce, just like being a guy, is you make drones, right? That's easy. Drones don't need to take care of the babies. Drones don't need to do anything. So when you start putting drones in the air as a hive, that means that you have enough surplus energy in order to start thinking about reproducing. So after you see drones, maybe about 2 weeks until there's a possibility that you're going to be into swarm season, right? So you watch the hive entrance, because honestly, it's so much faster and cheaper in terms of time. There's a book, Better Bee sells it, called At the Hive Entrance by a guy named Storch. And it's a really good book. Because I'm all about economy. So these guys, they're starting to go right up here.
When you're about to do it, will you let me know so we can let us know so we can like the video?
Yeah.
How many hives do you run out?
About 30.
Are you a pro or that's a hobby?
It's a hobby that kind of a little bit went out of control, but we are so they see that kind of gets them going a little bit.
Make sure they're ready to swarm. So you do to make sure they're ready to swarm.
They're actually, I mean, it looks exactly like a swarm on the back, right? Yeah. I mean, am I wrong, or is that a swarm?
They're really moving up now. Look at that. Like
That is a swarm, right? Is there any question that that's a swarm? No, it's a swarm.
Are they jumping down or are they just walking over?
They're just walking over and they're all holding on to each other with their feet. Yeah. Eventually, sometimes they'll sort of like...
Do you believe that the queen is on the far side now?
Yeah.
That's why they're all...
She's going to go for the dark as fast as possible.
So okay, so let's take stock of something else here.
Can you take that back?
All right, you guys, I'm gonna count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So the thing is that let's just take stock of this, right? I am standing here in a bee suit, right? I just shook every single bee out of the hive onto this board. The bees should be mad, right? They should be mad. But look at you all in your shirt sleeves and your shorts, right? The bees are not attacking you, so why not? No, because you know how swarms are just not dangerous?
Right.
These bees I have turned them into swarm mode. Like the whole pheromone, everything has happened, and it's a swarm now. So they're not, bees don't attack when they're in a swarm. Yeah, they're starting to drop into the hive now.
But at first, when
yeah. You can see they're kind of making contact now. It's like a little lava flow.
You gave up. Conquer and divide. Basically, at the end,
you provide them with drawn comb if you can. And normally, although I didn't really do it, I would have put 1 or 2 frames of their own drawn honey or something in there, just to make it seem a little like welcome-y home thing, you know. But so they're actually just going right in there now.
And will you let them do their thing? You won't shake them in? You won't shake them in?
Honestly, I've gotten really over the years. I've just gotten much. So I used to, you know how when you put bees into a hive, when you get a new package, they always say shake them in?
Yes.
I just don't do that anymore. I put the queen in and I invert the package on top of it, and then I walk away.
Soft installs.
Soft installs. And so with this, you know, you really want, like, I just don't, like, I'm tired of fighting with the bees, you know? So you just get them to do what you want them to on your terms. And this is it. I mean, it's like Bee Wrangler or something, you know? Yeah, right? I mean, so look at them. Now they're just going into the I mean... So, I mean, if I told you that I was just going to cause bees to swarm into the box that I wanted them to swarm into, would you believe it? Like, it is exactly a swarm. And I just made them do that using a totally stupid technique that I could explain to anybody with a pen and a cocktail napkin.
I think you're due for American Got Talent. You can identify with this now?
So right, I just put this on here, so now it makes it dark. So they're going to go in and then they're going to go underneath that.
When will you next check the box?
Normally I would be like in the house, like folding my pants up or doing something at this point. So, you know, you can just go back a half an hour before. You can go back 5 hours later. It doesn't matter.
And then once they've sort of gotten themselves settled in, then when do you or do you not?
Then once they're all in there, I would pick it up and move it away, because what you've got here is you have no queen and the brood, right? And then you have the box that got swarmed into, and they want to be not on the original site. So they need to have, what a Snell Grove board does is, so this is a Snell Grove board here, and I would put this on top of this box, and I would open the back entrance like this. So the bees are going to be coming and going this way, and it gives them someplace to reorient to. Just leaving them in the front is a little bit too much like the other hive. So
you do that with the receiving or the dawn?
This is the one, that hive goes on here.
But would you, Adam, would you take the inner cover out first?
Yeah, the inner cover would not be on there.
Right.
It would just be the Snell Grove board.
It would not be two different steps.
So they're going in there now. There's certainly no doubt about it.
And so he's going to add that swarmed into box on the top of the other.
You could set it up as a separate hive, but it just...
Or you could just,
no.
You had another location, bring it to another location.
No, because the Snell Grove board separates them. It's a separate entrance.
And the whole
Would you do it like the Snell Grove, where you put like 2 or 3 honeysuckers in between?
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah, you can use that. At that point, you can run it as a 2-queen colony. So by opening and closing these doors, you can pump foraging workers into the bottom hive. So remember when I said you get twice as much honey out of a hive that has 40,000 bees in it as you have in a hive with 20,000 bees? By forcing the extra workers into the lower hive, you can get 6 times as much honey. It's just it's a technique. We did it for a couple years, but we wound up really working with the bees on ladders. Because really, honest to God, we really had ladders in the bee yards.
Like a normal hive is plenty tall enough for me.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So, we basically run them as a Snell Grove board for a little while because both colonies are a little bit weak. And this then allows them to use the cooling and heating effect of both colonies. Right? So when the bees here are pumping air up through them to cool themselves off, they're also pumping air into the top hive, and then the top hive's also pumping air out. So the whole thing is sort of, it works together, and then when you feel that they're strong enough, you break them apart. So it's just a way of making the whole operation stronger. I'm sorry that this whole presentation is so sort of like disorganized and all over the place, but
it's great.
But
it's simple, but effective. Something I've been trying
Yeah, it's fun keeping bees with Adam. It's crazy, but it works.
It really is crazy, but it does work.
So now does he have to add a purchase queen or something on the bottom, or does he use a swarm cell?
Yeah. I mean, normally we do this when there's a hive that has swarm cells.
Okay.
And so we think
it would be with those frames that you place on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would just, depending on the timing,
How many would you leave in there? 2, 3 cells?
I honestly,
like 2. Like 2 good ones.
In my yard, like
and
standing
then,
up with a skill saw.
or we might have another queen that we
ready to go. So you don't have to put it on top. You could just separate these and turn these into 2 instead of stacking. Great method.
Yeah.
I could have used this like a month ago.
Yeah.
The nurse bees don't fly. So
once you get the
I've never had this not work, and I probably have done it 20 or 30 times. And I'm confident enough to do it here with somebody else's hive that I've never seen, under like kind of weird conditions with a lot of people standing around. So it's like, this is not like a dry demo where, you're just like holding up different pieces of equipment.
You probably don't live in a close-knit neighborhood.
So, I mean, there it is. And basically at this point you can kind of...
Close-knit neighborhood.
Oh, you can right there.
So, yeah, I mean, here, so look at that.
Notify the neighbors.
You see that?
Park behind their house. And very nice neighborhood.
Right?
You can really feed this hive afterwards because there's nothing in the box.
If you have honey or something or pollen or stuff, you can put it in there. So did you guys see that when I was shaking it? Right? I mean, that is a swarm, right?
Or it's a hurting the bees.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a swarm.
Have you ever had them get the urge to just take off?
No, never.
Is this
Never.
the first time he's displayed this in UMass?
He did it. I think he actually. I know for sure he did it 2 years ago. I think he did it last
not
year
really.
too.
Oh, good. Well, it's
I couldn't come last year, so I don't know.
good.
Yeah, sometimes depending, like I'll just pick it up and carry it away. Or sometimes I'll put a snell growth board on top of the thing. But the main thing is that you stopped the swarmy hive from swarming. That's it. And now they're just going to go in there and they're going to be there in their house.
And so psychologically, they're satisfied too. Because
It's like there's something about it
they go,
that
we swarmed.
There was no swarm cell in there.
For whatever.
So they would probably make an
whatever causes
emergency
it.
queen. But I don't really want them to do that. So I would probably get a queen, and tomorrow I'd put a queen in there.
Why don't you want them to do that?
Because an emergency queen is made in an emergency. So in a real swarm situation, the best queens are swarm queens, because what's going on there is it's like it's like everybody agrees in the hive, right? It's like all the bees agree that we are gonna make a new queen. So everybody's like, we're on it. And then all that pheromone level goes way up, and everybody's like, we're totally with the program. And let's go get a lot of pollen, and let's go get a lot of nectar, because things look good, we're gonna swarm, and we're gonna build a great queen, right? And then they all get the weird gland in their head that makes royal jelly, gets all swelled up, and they make awesome royal jelly, and they pack it in the queen cell, and then they make great queens. They're made with surplus resources, and everybody's with the plan. So, in some sense, forcing the bees into a swarmy condition and letting a strong hive naturally make a queen is gonna produce absolutely the best queens. The best queens. And there's a lot more talk now about like just having good queens as kind of a cornerstone of your beekeeping operation. And there's no better queen than a swarm queen. So it's like if you get a hive through the winter and then you make that hive strong early and you're able to do all of it, like whatever your technique is, whatever your location is, if you're able to build a hive strong enough that it's really looking good and swarmy in May, then that's a good colony, and that's a colony that you want to make. And I don't care, like the Miller method, the Doolittle method, grafting, like whatever. It's like when the bees decide that they're going to make a good swarm queen, that's the best. That is absolutely the best. So what you wind up with in here is the best queen that they could possibly make. And what you wind up in there is the best mother queen that you could possibly have. And this, to me, all the other stuff about like cutting things and putting them in things and stuff.
Enough of that.
Enough, man. I'm a librarian. I have enough books at work, okay? I don't need to be reading beekeeping books.
In a swarm, the bees start flying away. But over here, you don't have flying bees. How is that the same thing?
They don't fly away, but you take them out of the hive and you shake them onto the thing. So the bees are out of the hive.
Yeah.
You don't satisfy the flying part of it.
So when the actual swarm that happens, the field bees go with it, right? Or those are only...
No, the field bees stay in the original hive, exactly like this. The field bees, once the bee leaves the hive, the field bee leaves the hive. Have you ever seen the bees? They come out and they fly, and they look at the hive and then they fly back in. And then they fly out and they look back in. They're orienting on that hive, right? So the field bees are always going to be oriented on the original hive. And the bees that swarm are the nurse bees that are not oriented on the original hive. They haven't been through that whole orientation practice.
Okay.
So by the time a field bee leaves the hive, it's lived about half of its useful life.
Okay.
So why would the queen leave with the bee that's already on its way out? She's going to take the young bees because those bees have to build wax. They have to raise up the nurse bees.
So when the bees end up 40 feet up on a
those are all the nurse bees.
But have they flown up there, or they
have flown up there.
so after this is all done and you have your swarm queen, and so when do you go back in to see that she's been returned from her romance flight, then she's laying
This
eggs?
is the swarm queen in here.
Well, how do you know? And then to check to make sure she returned from her romance.
Honestly,
flight.
in my life, when I get around to it. I mean, seriously, probably, I mean, like, you know, probably 2-3 weeks.
Okay, that a bird didn't get her or something?
Yeah, but you know what? A bird didn't get her.
Okay.
All right? Because usually in a swarm situation, they're going to have 2 or 3 sort of, yeah, they'll have multiple, there'll be multiple swarm cells.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why the snell growth board rather than the 2 hives? I kind of missed that before.
Because I'm too lazy to set up another base. Because this hive is already here, right? I don't have to like go get 2 cinder blocks and then I'm gonna have to weed whack around the other one. I don't know, man.
Aren't you going to have to do that anyhow when you move that off of there?
I suppose, but that's later. Okay. Why do today what you can put off until tomorrow? There you go. There's your answer.
What about honeysuckers on top of
He's a very relaxing beekeeper, right?
Yes.
Sure, man.
Very.
I like that.
I guess, you know, really it's under. So what you do is once that thing is producing, right? Once that thing is producing bees, then after a while you go and you shut the top door and you open the bottom one. And when those field bees are returning to that top door, they're going to go in the bottom one and they're going to go into the bottom hive. So you're just splitting those bees off, and then you open another door, and then when the new field bees leave, then they orient on that side entrance. But you've just tricked a bunch of bees into the bottom hive, and now they're making more. Now there is an extra, every time a bee goes into that bottom hive, it's making more honey. It's an extra bee. But the top hive doesn't really need it because it's being kept cool by the airflow. So you can just use that queen to make more honey in the bottom hive. And then eventually when you get tired of it and it's too tall and you're trying to pick up the thing over the top of your head, then you can carry it someplace else. And the other thing that's true is that, you know, then you have kind of a small colony in there. So if another colony goes queenless, you take that colony off the top and you put it you snell grove it onto the other colony, and then eventually you pull that snell grove board out after they've become used to each other. And it's already on 10 frame equipment, and it's already the right size, and then you flip it over so that the brood nest is in the right place. But it's a really easy way to, because you know with 30 hives, something's going to wind up queenless. Sure.
Okay, that would be good then. That's a good candidate.
Yeah, because you are breaking up. So right now you've stopped you broke the brood cycle in here. So this hive is going to wind up broodless for a little while. So you've just probably like knocked back your mite population by 1/3 or something like that. You know, and then you have no mite population in the top hive. So it's a good technique for pest management too. The whole, I mean, I don't know. It's really.
Can you use a bee brush to shake them off into your swarm as opposed to shaking them?
Yeah, I mean, sure. You can just kind of do this too.
Because I've got foundationless and I don't really want to knock it around because I don't have the support structure, the wire.
Very harmonious with the bee.
Yeah, I mean,
and when you
philosophy, you know. Yeah.
I guess
Everybody's got their own way.
Let's flow with the bees, not against
you only have one swarm cell, or you let as many as there were.
Oh, they're you mean our bees?
Yeah. I know a couple of the other presentations they've been taking videos.
Oh, these. Oh, yeah. We were just gonna.
It's simple is good.
That is very online, and we'll either put them or put a link like on the.
Yeah, rushing it now. There's no need to even do it.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
we're gonna
what
try
time
and do
is
it soon.
3:15.
Yeah, save a little bit more time.
You guys probably got a lot of honey, don't you? Quite a bit of honey.
Yeah, we pretty.
So I mean,
How many cells do you leave in there? All of them, or
All of
just
them.
one?
All of them. One good thing about it is that if you let's just say that you force the thing into a super swarmy condition, and you break that brood box open, and you see that there's like a dozen nice queen cells in there.
Someplace else, do you think?
Party on, man! It's just like bust that thing up, start making up nukes, you know, and then just swarm the bees back into the original thing. Leave 1 or 2 in there,
Wait till next year.
and then break it up so that you have 2 or 3 more nukes.
We're gonna put this up online.
What's that?
You don't care if
Have you ever tried this?
The big problem with doing splits of swarmy colonies is that you're going to miss a queen cell. And so when this hive isn't even really all that big, but when I'm talking about when you bust open a big swarmy hive, like the bees are coming out in front of it like a machine gun, right? It's like you can't, like I said before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, like that. They are coming out fast. And you're telling me that you're going to be holding those frames and you're going to catch every swarm cell on every side of that frame. It's just not going to happen. So if you put swarm cells back in there with that original queen and somehow you screw that up, it's still going to swarm. When you've gotten to that point.
With your method, you're putting them all
done. Done. The queen is out. You didn't have to find her because, honest to God, it's one bee in 60,000 bees.
So take the original.
Really?
Take that air cover off and put the snowball board on there.
Yeah, I don't have any marked queens. All our bees are just mutts, you know? It's like Russians. I have no idea, man. I've had buckfast, carniolans, Russians, obviously Italians. It's like there's nothing marked anywhere. It's all just.
I know, it's always fun to.
It's just bees, you know. And yeah, so I mean that's it, right? You know, the bees.
He was saying they were all in the swarm. I said, I'm going to die here on the ground, but I don't care. My feet hurt. But it was great.
But I mean, look, you know, there the bees are.
Oh my God.
I know, so it's a little nerve-wracking thing. Like, what if it goes wrong for the first time and they all get upset and
everybody gets stuck.
Exactly, it would be.
I have toothpaste with me. Toothpaste works great on these things.
Yeah.
How many queen cells does he leave on the making a new
couple, like a couple good ones.
He takes some of them off then.
Yeah.
He evaluates them. Okay, he doesn't leave them all on to duke it out. Where did he learn that?
He actually found it initially just like some weird sketch and a description online somewhere.
Yeah, it's just a funny thing to do with kids. You take a drone and you put it in your mouth and you let it walk around there and then you open your mouth and the bee flies out. Kind of freaks people out.
Oh, it's great.
They're like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Thank you all so much for sharing that.